Welcome to the most requested video since the launch of Back4App Containers, how to move your application from Heroku containers to Back4App Containers. I'm Alex, the architect from Back4App, and I'll show you two different cases today where you can transfer your application from Heroku to Back4App. Now, I understand this will cover most of the cases from people moving from Heroku to Back4App, but if your situation does not apply to these scenarios, please leave a comment on the comment section below. We always read and answer all the questions, and we might investigate into your case and create a new video that will help people such as you to migrate your application. So also in this video, I will be approaching some other things that we already covered here in the channel, such as connecting your GitHub account to Back4App containers and also publishing images from the hub into the Docker hub to Back4App containers. Now, I won't get into detail into those proceedings as we covered that before, but I'll leave links in the description of this video that you can follow and then use along with the information in this video to connect your account and use images from the hub into the Docker hub. So here I have this application. It's just a Nginx container that's running from Heroku, and I just created and uploaded this to Heroku, use the Heroku CLI. As you can see, it works like a charm. It's working very well in Heroku, and I want to move this to Back4App containers. Now, you have to split it in two different scenarios. Now remember that in this case I'm just running Nginx, but it could be any application in any stack. And in the first scenario that we will cover, I want to talk about when you develop the application yourself, or perhaps someone developed it for you and you still have access to this person, or perhaps a company did it for you and you still have access to that company, which is the simplest case that you can find. In this specific case, all you have to do is to get the information about the stack that you're running and the Dockerfile that you use to publish your application to Heroku and deploy that to Back4App. This is as simple as it gets. So here I have my GitHub account where I created this first container repo, and in here I upload my Dockerfile. As you can see, it's a very simple Dockerfile based on the Ubuntu image where I install Nginx, put a default website configuration, expose some port, and then run this command. Once again, this would work already if you have a complex application and a complex Dockerfile as well. I'm just leaving this as it is because it's simpler to understand. But once you have your Dockerfile working, all you have to do is to publish it to your GitHub account, connect that GitHub account, remember, link in the description of the video on how to connect your GitHub account to Back4App containers, and then make a new deploy. Everything will be installed and running, and you can always rely on our support team to help you to get your application running. Now, another case is if you used some people or company to develop the code for you and you do not have access to that anymore, but you published it from the Heroku CLI and you still have that container running into your machine, such I have here. So here I have my local Docker running, and as you can see, every time I use this Heroku CLI to create a new deployment for me, it will create a new container running into my local Docker. This is mandatory. If you try to run the Heroku containers push command from the CLI, it will try to connect to your local Docker running in your machine. And this is very good because you have a copy of that stack already running. The bad news about this strategy is that you cannot retrieve a Dockerfile from a running container. So I have this working in my machine, I have this working in Heroku, but I cannot retrieve a Dockerfile from here. But there are still a few things we can do in order to run this from Back4App. And the easiest way to approach this situation is, once you click the container running in your machine. In my case, I'm using a Mac, but the interface is very similar in Windows machines or Linux machines. So you click this, you see it will open up the container's details, and up here you can have more actions. And if you click this, you see that you can push this image to the Docker hub. Once you do that, you end up into a website that looks just like this. So here I searched for Back4App, and you see all the images that Back4App published into their account, and you can have images published to your account as well. And you can use those as base images to deploy your application to Back4App containers. So once again, I'll leave a link in the description of this video on how to use those images from the Docker Hub to get your application running in Back4App. But it's as basically as changing the from image from, in this case I'm using Ubuntu, to your image from the Docker Hub. This will download the image from Docker Hub and publish it to your Dockerfile, and then Back4App containers will read through this Dockerfile, download it from the Docker Hub, and publish it in the registry in Back4App containers. In the end, we will end up with a application running in Back4App container based on the image that is in the Docker Hub, which is the image that's running from your machine that you published to that site in the first place. So once you get that image in here, it doesn't matter if from route A, which is writing your Dockerfile and publishing your application manually with your GitHub account, or via option B, which is publishing to Docker Hub and then using that base image as a base image for Back4App containers, you end up into Back4App containers in a website just like this. And in here you have to create a new app. And it will ask you to choose from which repository you want to use the Dockerfile from. And in my case, that would be the first container, which is right here. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to give my app a name, so I'm going to call this from Heroku. I'll leave the branch as main, as my branch is the main one. I don't have any other branches for this project. And the root directory is where into your GitHub repo is located the Dockerfile. In my case, it is in the root folder, as you saw right here. So if I go back to first container, you see I don't have any folders in there. It's just the Dockerfile in the first directory of this repo. So I'll leave it as it is. If you have into a directory, you have to put the directory in here as well. Then you have to select if you want to auto-deploy. Auto-deploy will take any changes into your GitHub repo and start a new deployment in Back4App containers. This is useful if you have to have the latest version of your application running in Back4App containers at all times. But if you don't really need this kind of feature, or perhaps if you want to check if the application is running prior to a new deploy, you should set it as no. Once again, this project is very basic, so I don't have any environment variables. If you have environment variables needed be on your Docker Hub image or in your Dockerfile, you can fill up these fields in here, and you can add new variables from here. So I'm going to create this new app. This will automatically start a new deployment. This takes a little while, as it will download and install everything for me. Remember, the logs are in real time, so what you're seeing in my screen right now is exactly what's happening at this moment in Back4App containers. This is very good for debugging purposes. You can see if your container fails, where it failed and why, and this will give you a lot of information in order to debug and correct possible errors. So it's now launching my container. And deployment is ready. You can see also that it is available in here. We make a health check, checking if the exposed port is responding into the container, so you can be sure your application is running. If you need more detailed log of what's happening inside the container, you can always go to logs and read through what's happening. I don't have any logs because I don't print any messages for this container, as it is just a Nginx container. But if you put in your application to console log some information, it will show here also in real time. And if you want to check this application running, all you have to do is to click this green link in here, and as you can see, it is working from Back4App containers exactly the same as it was in Heroku. So these are the main approaches that I'm sure it will benefit 99% of you that are looking for a solution to migrate from Heroku to some other place. And I really recommend that you try Back4App Containers because we are very new, but we put a lot of effort into this platform in order for it to be reliable enough for our clients. So you have these two situations that we covered that I really think will help you if you have access to your Dockerfile and your application source code. And this is the easiest way you can go by publishing everything to GitHub and having Back4App to connect to GitHub and then downloading your code from there and executing your Dockerfile, creating your container. Remember, you can run as many containers as you need in Back4App Containers. Or if you don't have access to that code anymore for any reason, but you published it from your machine or from some machine that you have access to and have Docker installed, let's go back to Docker, it's right there, it will leave an image into the Docker server in your machine that you can always publish to the Docker Hub and then consume this image from Back4App Containers directly from Docker Hub. This is not ideal, I know, you probably won't have as much access to the source code once it's running, but you can always rely on our support team to try to log into those containers and see what is possible to do as well. So as long as you have your container running in Back4App Containers, you can have lots of beneficial functionalities from it, such as real-time logging and automatic integration with GitHub and our support, which is immensely known for its good response to our clients. So this is how you move your application from Heroku to Back4App Containers the easiest way. Once again, if you don't fit any of these two scenarios, please leave a comment in this video telling exactly which scenario you have, and our support team will reach out to you and we can discuss together, see exactly what's preventing you from running your container from Back4App Containers, and we can probably produce a video especially for you on how to approach your specific case, because this can benefit other users as well, and then you can have it running from Back4App Containers totally for free. Now, I'm sure you enjoyed this content if you followed this far. I'm sure you will enjoy Back4App Containers as we are very new and very reliable, and better of all, we are free for new users, so all you have to do is to register as a new Back4App Containers user and start using our free plan. So, if you found this video helpful, please click the like button and consider subscribing to the channel so you can help us grow. Also, share this link with a friend and they can learn something too. If you are already subscribed, thank you for that. And if you have any questions, suggestions, or any implementation you'd like to see, please leave on the comment section down below. We always answer all the questions. I hope this content was useful to you and hope to see you back. See you soon. Bye bye.